Well, hello and welcome to your Salesforce Pro Suite self-implementation video. So in today's video, we're just going over the basics. We're going to go over the lay of the land. I've got a fresh new Pro Suite org ready to go. I just signed up for a new fresh trial, so it should hopefully be similar to what you're experiencing. And I'm just going to give you a lay of the land of the overview of the layouts, as well as talk to you about Salesforce lingo, what certain things mean, and then hopefully help you avoid some common trip-ups that a lot of users experience and help you have a successful adoption and implementation of your Salesforce instance within your team. So as we get started here, you can see I'm on the home page, right? So you just logged in, and you can see your homepage layout here. There are some cards here that won't really stick around forever. They're just meant to get you started and into your creating your first records. So I highly suggest you take a look at those and follow those. And then down here are some cards that we'll go over more in a moment, but these are just kind of a quick snapshot of data that's happening within your system and very useful. I'm going to just move myself to the side so I'm not in the way. I want to start by going down this left-hand navigation. So over here you can see these, Salesforce will call these apps. And they're not apps like the apps that are on your phone, but rather things that where, similar kind of actions might happen, right? So this is going to be your contacts is just a basic contacts and accounts are here, and then sales, you just have a few more tabs as you can see and a few more things going on here, and same with service, marketing, commerce, those kinds of things. And then excuse me, lastly, you have your account, and this is not like the others. It's where you can manage your subscription. So I'll talk to you more about that in a second, but what I want to first cover is what you'll notice is as you have contacts here at the top and accounts, when you go to these next few tabs, you'll notice you have contacts here and accounts. And I just know users well enough that this gets confusing to them because they're thinking, wait, if I add a contact up here, will it also appear here? Or how do I know if I add the contact to sales or do I add it to service? Like what's going on? And really it's so much simpler, and you're going to love the answer because when you create a contact, it's a contact. A contact is a contact. It is basically like universal, right? So if you create it in that first app, it will show up in any of the others as a contact. So that's great news, super straightforward in that sense. All right, so definitely go through, explore these different areas. Even if you don't plan to use it, it's definitely worth the exploration. This last one here, I want to cover with you. Well, I won't have any information in here because it's a free trial account that I signed up for. What you'll typically see here is a place where you can add more users and update your subscription, things like that, which is super valuable. The one thing as an experienced admin, what I would tell you is I never use this. In part, the only time I will use it is when I have to sometimes add or purchase one more license. But if you're purchasing, honestly, if you're purchasing more than two, and typically I've found that Salesforce likes it if you purchase in numbers of 5, you can always ask for a discount for those new licenses. And there are a lot of other kind of tips and tricks around pricing that we won't go into today, but I have some more freebie information coming out around that. But just know, if you're going to buy more than one license, call your account executive directly and ask for a discount. All right, lastly, they added this new option more here. And what you pull up is you see these are the groups. These are the quote unquote apps that they're referencing, right? The nice thing is you can actually move these around. So I tend to find that people use accounts more than contacts. So I would tend to move it in that order, for example. But you can do it kind of however you want. And then notice here, if I star it, that's when it will start to come up on my sidebar there. So I just starred automation, and now it's going to show on my left-hand navigation. All right, so that's super helpful. Also note, if you scroll down, and again, oh, this can be overwhelming, and I don't want you to get overwhelmed. Most of your users shouldn't be seeing this. It would be good to check if they are, because it does get that feeling. I know a lot of these things, but even me, right? It feels like, ooh, there's a lot going on. So might be good to have a walk through this with your user and see if they see those things, because a standard user shouldn't be seeing all of these different elements. Okay, so that's that. And so just continuing to kind of give this quick overview at the high level, right? We're going to go from left to right. The search up here at the top. Now, this is a fresh new sandbox, literally just a couple hours ago, I created this, but I wanted to show you the search. So I added a few contacts in here. And so let me just search for Andy. And just as I mentioned before, you know, when I said a contact is a contact, this search is the same thing. So one of the most common questions I would get is, okay, do I have to be on a contact tab or an account tab? Actually, people typically thought, like, do I have to be on this tab to search for a contact? And the answer is no. This is considered a global search. Think of it like a Google search engine within your own org. And Salesforce has spent a lot of time investing in this search, so they call it an Einstein search, and I have found it's had a lot of improvements to the search functionality. So let's just search here. You can see I'm going to type Andy, and I have two Andy Jacksons. Maybe they moved from one company to another, whatever that might be, right? But it's cool because I can see, notice before here, I just think this is helpful to go to help you understand and help your users understand these icons mean something, and they can really help lead you to the thing you want faster. So just watch for those icons. It also helps you search for like list views that you might have, whatever. But anyway, just let's go to a specific search. I'm going to search Andy here, and notice so it's saying it had a problem with the Einstein search, which is okay. It's kind of the smart search, and my system is new, so it's still learning. But here I can see my contacts below. And then on the left-hand side, want you to pay attention to this because it is, again, important the way Salesforce search works. If you know you entered a record in the system, there are oftentimes, and I say these things because these are common questions I get, somebody will search for it and they're like, I know I entered it, but it's not showing up on the search results. Well, Salesforce is trying to reveal to you the objects that you use most often. And so sometimes you need to hit that show more button. And again, if you're the admin, you're going to get overwhelmed, but your standard users shouldn't see that. But just so you know, as you're getting started, that does happen, where sometimes you need to open it up and be like, hey, look in these other objects for me or whatever. Okay. So let's go back to the basics. Okay, so that's search. And then up here we have, again, this is a new feature. So we're trying to keep these, Salesforce doesn't have a ton of documentation out there on ProSuite. So we're trying to keep you live and up to date. But if you notice something in these videos that doesn't look like yours, feel free to ping us and let us know. And especially if you have questions about it, we'd love to hear from you. So this is a new thing in the recent release where it's called a global action. And you can check these out. I don't find people use them a lot, but people might. Maybe it's because I've been using the system for too long and these are your favorite things. That's great. But it's just a spot to create records more quickly, more easily. Also note here that this is also a new little guidance. This is a trailhead guidance. This looked a little bit different before. Than this was kind of what the help looked like. And so this is just a great space for you to explore kind of an organized path in how to get started. So the other thing to note is you can pin this here so that if you want to go through this guide, you can click through these and work in your system as you go through the guide. So super helpful. Hopefully they relate to you. But again, I would love to know if these do hit the right things for you, or if you are looking for other instructions here as well. All right, so then you have help and training, right? This is really where you can go if you need to search for more help, if you want to go out to the bigger trailhead, where there's all sorts of paths and learning tools. I will say, if you go that route, not a ton out there yet for ProSuite. So, being in this guided setup might be better for you, but you can always search for help and try to find what is most important to you. Also, if you need a support ticket, go ahead and log your support case here. I will say I tend to find more success digging and asking the community on like Trailhead, where you have questions. So take this to your full advantage, use it as you can, and that's where you get your support. All right, so quick settings. This is, as you're going to set up your org, there's two settings I want to draw your, three really, I guess. This is a quick setting. These are the things that you're going to use most often. Know that these are system-wide settings, right? That these are big. Any changes you make here will change them for all your users, pretty much. Same with advanced settings. So these are the things you're going to use most often. There's an advanced setup that has a ton of stuff going on and again can feel overwhelming, but it also is like the key to unlock the whole world of Salesforce and unleash its powerful capabilities. So you don't want to be scared of it. Feel free, open it up, check it out. And actually I have here some videos where I go into more detail about many of these settings, as well as some advanced settings, the ones that I start with that I think are most important to an initial launch. And that's these here. So I'll put the link to these in the description of this video, but just know, like, these to me are the key things that you want to know, the settings you want to go over to learn how to best implement Salesforce. All right, so that's that setting. That third setting I was mentioning, I'm going to skip past the notifications for a second because this is a third setting, and this is a setting for your individual users. So this is this place where they can go to really kind of customize and personalize their experience. And I would kind of encourage them to come and check it out, right? They can change their time zone like we talked about in that other video, their password. They can also start to send emails into Salesforce. Like, there's a bunch of other things in here that they can take advantage of that is worth exploration. Things like changing their email signature in case they're sending emails from Salesforce. The good thing to note here is anything they change here is really their personal settings. So that's what this profile, these settings are for them. And obviously I always love to encourage people to put a picture of their profile up. It helps make this system kind of come alive and feel more personal. All right, so I skipped over this notification setting, and these notifications are going to be maybe things from Salesforce, but also if you turn on chatter, which there's a lot of, some people get annoyed with it, but I actually think it's one of the most powerful functions Salesforce has, where you can communicate all this information. It brings context and really can bring records and data alive when you use chatter. So if somebody messages you in chatter, that notification will pop up here. All right, so that's been a pretty real basic high level overview. I think the only other thing that maybe I missed here is that Salesforce calls, so they call these apps, and then these are called objects. So as we go through, I'll kind of call them objects and tabs or tables. This is the tab, but the object is an account. And so you can kind of think of it like if you have an Excel spreadsheet and you have the different sheets open, those are kind of its own table, right? Its own little mini database. The same thing here, right? This is like a tab in in Excel, and it's it's a table of accounts. So hopefully that helps kind of bring a picture to you as to how that works in the system. And then you have different fields on these tables that can do something like a VLOOKUP to another. You can look up, you can have a contact, and you can have a field that looks up to an account. So that's just a relational database and maybe a bit too techy, but I do think it helps, hopefully, as you think about how the system works, that these are basically just Excel spreadsheets, a sheet within a spreadsheet. Okay, so let's go back to your home page, because some of the other questions I get is, okay, I love these cards, but how do I edit them? How do I change them? How do I move them around? Well, when we're here, one of the things to note is you can change these. You and your users get to change these for themselves. If you're a manager, I highly suggest you change these to like open and like all opportunities, so that you can start to see like what people are creating in the system. And you can also see who is getting in, right? Like who's getting in the system and what are they doing exactly. That's a great way for you to kind of get that pulse on the system. And then but your end users, it's probably a good idea maybe if they want to say like my leads or my opportunities, that kind of thing. So the next question is like, oh, these look like little widgets, right? Like, I'm just like can I just drag and drop this over? You're like, no, it's not letting me. Why not? Well, they don't actually move. So instead, what you can do is you can click this little drop down, and there's this option to change the home card. So you see here, it's selected the lead. Well, maybe I want to be opportunities first because I'm not really using leads. And then here, of course, I might just change this to a different card. Or maybe perhaps I want this to be, closing this month and this is closing next month, right? I can set these up however I kind of want, but you can't move them around. You just have to change them there. Last, a couple other notes. You see this little button down here. This is a report. So if your data isn't looking right, you can hit that refresh, and that will, refresh the report so that you see live data. All right, so the last thing I just want to cover with you is actually one of the most valuable things that you can learn in the system. And these are called list views. So when I go to a tab, and right here you see this recently viewed. Well, I've done Salesforce. I've used Salesforce for 14 years, and people are constantly confused by this. They're like, wait, I see these records here. They'll see more records, like other records they viewed. And like, but these aren't mine. Like, why are these showing? Well, the records showing in this table are directly associated to the list view that you have showing here. And so that's just been confusing to end users. And so most users want to instead change this, where they'll click, a different view. And there's this little pin here that if I pin this, then it will show. The other thing to know is that this pin is really just browser cache. So if you clear your cache or you go to another computer, it doesn't stay with your account, but rather it's just a cache. So you have to, so you might see, if it goes away, then that's why, why. Okay, so list views, let me just jump big real quick. List views are one of the best things in Salesforce. Granted, I hope they continue to bring some enhancements to it because of how useful they are. But what you need to know about list views is that they are, one is that they're org-wide. So be careful. I would just say be mindful of how many you create. And then also, if you're the admin, be aware of when you're changing that list view, whether it's filters or fields that you're showing. Because what if you change the fields that are viewing, that are showing on there, your other end users might have been using that field, and then they're like, wait, like the unexpected disappearance of that field can feel very, very frustrating to them, because that's how they started to get used to their work. And so you can see decreases in adoption from that. So the way I use list views is for things like my new leads, my open opportunities, and what are my next steps. The other things that people will use, like tons of service teams and sales teams will use a list view to clean up their data, to figure out who they want to go to, who they want to target for a conference. They'll use it for cleaning up their data and assigning them to campaigns. So many different features. My open cases, if you're using it for service, like which cases do I need to still resolve? So think of a list view as like a working list. That's how I tend to use them. And so again, just be cognizant. The other thing I would suggest, best practice, my practice, the way in which you get too many list views is you want to just see a quick, you want to just pull like a list of opportunities due next month. So you create a new list view, and then you want to see for the quarter, and then whatever. You get too many that way. So I create let's just show you. All right. I'm going to create a new, so real fast up here, this is a new record, a new account record. But if I want to create a new list view, I go here and I create one called edit view, and you can call it whatever you want. But I do this in every single org I create. And then this is where I just have this edit view, and this is where I know I go if I just want to run a quick kind of report, a quick something, or if I want to do a quick data cleanup or data check. This is what I'll do. Change the fields I see. And again, it's only visible to me. And then I tell, like, if I have users, if users can create list views, I suggest they do the same thing, where that list view is only available to them. I can do a whole nother session on list views, but let's just stick to the basics. Okay, so recently viewed, you cannot change the fields and information here. This is done in the advanced setup, but any of these other list views, you can change the, sorry, I keep getting in the way. You can change the name, who it's shared with, the filters, and the fields that are showing, or you can delete them. Okay. You can also change how you view it. You can hit a little refresh. You can, this is like editing the record, but you can do that here. You can see if the little pencil, if you can edit it. There are times where something is locked and you can't edit it. There's again, a lot of various complexities around that, but just know that overall, it should indicate to you whether or not you can mass edit that, whether you can edit that in this list or not. And mass edit, you can click here, and then if you want to change it, you just select that you want it to apply to all of those, and then you hit apply. And then lastly, there's a search functionality. So again, also know some fields Salesforce doesn't search on. Again, not to cause more frustration for you, but it is helpful to know that if something's not coming up, that maybe it's because Salesforce doesn't, if that's not a field that's indexed. Okay, those are the basics. And then lastly, like I mentioned, you can create a new record here. I have more details on that. Check out video number 125 in this channel, and that will walk you through how we create accounts and contacts. And then also know from here you can import data, and then this assign label is just a new tagging feature that is probably not important right away, but check out the rest of these features here. I think you'll love them and you'll get great use from them. Feel free to let me know how you feel about this overview. If I missed anything, if you have questions, feel free to subscribe and also make comments. We're excited to bring you more information about Salesforce Pro Suite.